had lives, and then they were gone and he was left behind. But those bitter, sweet memories weren't what had prompted Henry to practically run out of the house. Nope, it had been the small bottle of scotch he'd found. There had been almost half the bottle left. He'd looked at that liquid gold and known exactly how it would taste, how it would smell, the way it would burn down his throat. He'd stared at it and figured he could get 3 decent glasses out of it. He could go to the kitchen, grab one of the crystal tumblers his grandmother had been proud of, and sit and toast all that death. He dropped the bottle on the carpet and walked out of the house. He'd walked to the small cafe 2 blocks from the beach and ordered a large coffee and told himself that he could keep the monster locked in that room. He would simply sell the contents of the house along with the structure. The problem was, the monster didn't live in the bottle. The monster was with Henry always. His cell trilled, and he practically breathed a sigh of relief. Work was something he could deal with. Work was an addiction he could sink into. He set the cup down and answered the call. "This is Garrison." "Hey, buddy, how's the packing going?" David Cormack's voice came over the line, a steady sound that soothed Henry. There was something about the ex-NFL star-turned-lawyer that Henry found oddly calming. David never flipped his shit, never got angry or emotional, but managed to also never seem cold. David's whole world had turned upside down. All his hopes and dreams burned to cinders, and all he'd done was find a new dream. Henry would bet that not once had David ever had a drunken, screaming argument with his wife in the middle of a Manhattan restaurant, with a phalanx of reporters documenting every moment for posterity. Of course, David was a widower. He didn't argue with his wife at all. "I'm getting through it. I only got in yesterday. I'm going to pack up anything personal and let the movers take the rest." He wasn't going to talk to David about the fact that he was on the back porch, hiding out from a bottle of scotch. David had enough to deal with. Did the kid get in all right? The kid was named Noah Lawless, and he was the only fucking reason Henry Garrison was still going to be able to practice law in Manhattan. After his disastrous divorce, he didn't have the influence or the cash flow to keep up his private practice. Manhattan's best criminal lawyer had become a has-been, and only his connection to the incredibly powerful Lawless family was saving him this time. Once upon a time, he'd defended Riley Lawless's future wife from embezzlement and fraud charges. Not that she'd needed much defending, since she'd actually been innocent, but getting Ellie out of jail had apparently endeared him to the clan, and when he'd needed help, they'd been amenable. They were funding him for the time being. They were also his only real client. Of course, that meant doing Drew Lawless, the family patriarch and head of their multi-billion-dollar company, a massive favor and taking on his baby brother as a freaking junior partner. But a desperate man did what he had to do. Noah wasn't coming in as an associate the way he should. He had his damn name on the door. "He's not as bad as you think." David knew how reluctant Henry was to take on an entitled kid. He'd dealt with enough rich pricks to last a lifetime. Despite the fact that he was sitting on one of the world's most affluent islands, he hadn't grown up wealthy. The house had been built by his boat captain great-grandfather back in the 1920s and passed down the line. His grandfather had been a fisherman, and his father had gone into the military. After his father had died, Henry had grown up here as a townie. It had only been later on that he'd turned into an overprivileged asshole of a human being. "I think he's probably pretty bad, so you're not giving me a lot of confidence." Henry wished he hadn't stopped smoking. No more smoking.